The DC universe is filled with heroes, villains, and cosmic beings whose powers are as diverse as the myths and science that inspire them. But while many readers may see superpowers as random gifts granted by radiation, gods, or cosmic accidents, DC Comics has long attempted to classify powers into categories that make sense within its fictional reality. These categories not only help define the scope of a character's abilities, but they also illustrate how the universe itself understands the nature of metahumans, aliens, sorcery, and higher beings. In this video, we are going to explore every major classification of superpowers in DC, from physical enhancements to magic, from mental abilities to divine powers, and even the obscure classifications that exist on the fringes of the multiverse. Physical enhancements. One of them, strength that allows Superman to lift tectonic plates, speed that lets him move faster than the human eye can track, and durability that allows him to survive nuclear blasts. Amazons, such as Wonder Woman, also fall into this category, their powers derived from both divine blessings and centuries of warrior training. Speedsters like the Flash and Kid Flash take physical enhancement even further, tapping into the Speed Force to achieve not only velocity but also rapid healing, heightened reflexes, and resistance to friction. Atlanteans such as Aquaman exhibit enhanced durability and stamina, adapted to underwater environments, along with strength that rivals even the strongest Kryptonians. In storylines like The Death of Superman, physical enhancement is shown at its most raw form, when Superman and Doomsday reduce entire city blocks to rubble through sheer force of strength and durability. Energy manipulation. Another major classification in DC superpowers involves the control and projection of energy. Unlike physical enhancements, which are limited to the body, energy manipulation extends outward, shaping the world around the user. Firestorm demonstrates another aspect of this classification, where nuclear energy and atomic restructuring give him godlike control over matter itself. Captain Atom's powers are also energy-based, tied to quantum fields and limitless energy reserves that allow him to manipulate time and reality under the right circumstances. Shazam, though often considered magical, also embodies energy manipulation through the mystical lightning that transforms Billy Batson into his heroic counterpart. Entire storylines have been built around energy manipulation as a classification, such as Blackest Night, where the emotional spectrum became the battlefield for the survival of existence itself, or Captain Atom. Armageddon, where unchecked energy threatened the multiverse. Magic-based powers. If science is the backbone of physical and energy-based classifications, then magic represents the mystical counterpart that exists outside the laws of physics. In the DC universe, magic is a force as old as creation, and those who wield it fall under one of the most distinct classifications of power. Zatanna, Dr. Fate, John Constantine, and Etrigan the Demon all demonstrate different approaches to magic, whether through spoken incantations, divine artifacts, or infernal contracts. Unlike physical or energy-based abilities, magic is unpredictable and not always bound by logic. Superman, whose near invulnerability makes him untouchable to most forms of damage, has been consistently shown to be vulnerable to magical attacks, highlighting its unique role in the DC hierarchy of powers. Storylines such as Day of Vengeance and the Books of Magic emphasize the importance of magic as a classification, showing that even the most powerful heroes and villains cannot ignore or resist it. Dr. Fate in particular demonstrates how magic is classified as a discipline of knowledge and responsibility, where mastery of the mystical arts requires more than natural ability. It demands wisdom, sacrifice, and a willingness to be a conduit for greater powers. Psychic and mental powers. Another classification of DC superpowers is rooted in the mind. Telepathy, telekinesis, illusions, precognition, and mind control all fall into this category. Martian Manhunter, John Johns, is the most iconic example. His telepathic abilities allow him to communicate across planetary distances, shape the thoughts of others, and manipulate memories. In many Justice League storylines, his powers make him the quiet backbone of the team, able to link the League mentally in the middle of battle. Gorilla Grodd is another, representing how psychic abilities can manifest in terrifying, villainous ways. His mind control has enslaved entire cities, pushing the limits of what telepathy can achieve when paired with malice. Maxwell Lord represents the human side of this classification, someone without alien or magical origins, but still capable of forcing Superman himself to bend to his will in Infinite Crisis. These mental powers, while less flashy than physical or energy-based abilities, have shaped some of DC's most important conflicts, revealing that control of the mind is as dangerous as control of the body. Metahuman mutations and the metagene. DC takes a different approach to mutations than Marvel, but it still exists in its own classification. The concept of the metagene was formally introduced in the late 1980s during the Invasion storyline. The Dominators, an alien race, discovered that humans possess a latent genetic factor that, when exposed to extreme stress or unusual circumstances, triggers the development of superhuman abilities. This explains why so many ordinary humans in DC suddenly manifest powers after accidents or traumas, from fire-related powers to teleportation or energy blasts. Characters like Vixen, who channels animal abilities through her Tantu totem, and Metamorpho, who can transform his body into any element, are categorized here. Beast Boy also belongs to this classification, his transformation abilities resulting from experimental exposure. The metagene classification ties into a deeper world-building device. That Earth itself is special in the DC universe, a focal point for evolution and cosmic attention because of its unique potential to produce metahumans at scale. This gives an in-universe reason for why so many superheroes originate on one planet, while tying their powers to a pseudo-scientific explanation. Technological and artificial powers. Not all powers in DC are natural or mystical. Some are forged by human hands or alien technology. Characters like Cyborg and Steel embody this classification, with Cyborg being permanently merged with apocalyptic technology after an accident, granting him endless adaptability through weapons, sensors, and integrated systems. Amazo, an android designed by Professor Ivo, falls into this classification as well, capable of mimicking the powers of any metahuman he encounters. Lex Luthor, when equipped with his green and purple war suit, demonstrates how technology can rival even Superman on the battlefield. These characters raise a crucial distinction in DC power classification, that artificial powers can often scale as high as or higher than natural ones, depending on resources and genius. Storylines such as Justice League, Tower of Babel, and Cyborg's central role in the New 52 show that technology doesn't just complement powers, it can redefine them. Technology-based powers also often blur the line between man and machine, raising questions about identity, autonomy, and what it means to be human in a world of gods and aliens. Divine and cosmic powers. Another classification exists above science, mutation, or technology. Powers derived from gods and cosmic forces. Wonder Woman is the clearest example, blessed with abilities from the Olympian gods themselves, which categorize her as both divine and physical. Shazam is another, his powers drawn directly from gods across different pantheons: Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. Then there are beings like the Spectre, who represents the wrath of God itself. He is less a hero and more an instrument of divine will, his power surpassing nearly all classifications within the DC hierarchy. On the cosmic scale, the new gods such as Darkseid, Highfather, and Orion exemplify this classification, their powers representing the eternal struggle between good and evil. In Final Crisis and Kingdom Come, divine and cosmic powers drive the events of entire universes, often positioning these beings as both saviors and existential threats. This classification is crucial because it highlights that in the DC universe, not all powers are meant to be understood. Some are manifestations of higher truths, cosmic balance, or divine punishment. Obscure and fringe powers. The final classification is reserved for the rarest and strangest abilities in DC, powers that defy easy categorization and often exist outside the normal rules of physics, magic, or genetics. One example is probability manipulation, famously used by characters like the villain Roulette or the Justice League foe Amos Fortune, who could alter chance itself in battles. These powers are nearly impossible to counter because they rewrite outcomes rather than apply force. Another example is Toon Force, most notably wielded by Batmite and Mr. Mxyzptlk, impish beings from the fifth dimension who can bend reality for amusement. Their classification isn't magic or science. It's narrative manipulation tied to imagination and absurdity. Then there are elemental embodiments like Swamp Thing, who channels the green, the collective consciousness of plant life across the planet, or Firestorm, whose fusion-based powers sometimes overlap into this space by rewriting atomic structures. In Vertigo and later mainstream DC runs, characters like Dream of the Endless showcase powers classified as metaphysical, representing universal concepts rather than traditional abilities. Storylines like American Gothic and Swamp Thing or Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow demonstrate how these fringe classifications destabilize normal hero logic, creating threats and allies who cannot be beaten with brute force or even strategy. They remind readers that in DC Comics, power is not always a matter of strength, speed, or even intellect. Sometimes it is about embodying the rules of reality itself. In conclusion, DC Comics has always presented itself as a universe of gods and mortals, where powers are not simply gifts, but reflections of deeper truths about science, myth, and existence. From the physical enhancements of Kryptonians and Amazons, to the mystical chaos of magic users, from the engineered brilliance of technological heroes to the divine wrath of cosmic beings, every classification tells us something about the scale and scope of this universe. The concept of the metagene explains humanity's potential, while obscure powers like probability manipulation and Toon Force remind us that not everything can be controlled, measured, or resisted. These categories don't just serve as storytelling devices. They reveal how the DC Universe organizes its own understanding of the extraordinary. By looking at superpowers not as random phenomena, but as classified systems, we can better appreciate why Superman fears magic, why Batman prepares for metahuman unpredictability, and why the Justice League must often call upon expertise from across every classification to save the day. Ultimately, power in DC is not just about ability, it's about context, origin, and how it interacts with the rest of the multiverse. And in a world where every type of power exists, the greatest stories come from seeing those classifications clash, blend, and evolve. Make sure to subscribe to Explained Comics so you don't miss our upcoming breakdowns of iconic characters, powers, and storylines from both DC and Marvel. And if there's a power set or character you'd like us to analyze next, drop it in the comments below. Your suggestion might be the focus of our next video. Thanks for watching.